all or nothing all the time.
Like, what am I doing? I'm doing it for the show. Field of 68 till I die.
This is the Field of 68 After Dark Show, the only place that you need to be for college hoops every single night. Welcome back to the Wednesday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark here on Sirius XM Channel 84, College Sports Radio. Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me. I got Chris Mack with me. He is supporting his favorite player in college basketball, Adam Flagler. We have a loaded show.
I'm not supporting the Philadelphia Eagles?
We're not talking about you today, Goodman. It's not about you. It's not always about you.
Can you let him do the intro, please?
Yeah. We have a loaded show today. We got Oklahoma and Baylor are playing right now. We're going to be live on Sirius after Alabama and Florida finish playing. That is a 30-point game with 4 minutes left. Hopefully, it's a quick finish. We got to talk about Iowa State losing at West Virginia, and I need to convince you guys, because I'm on the bandwagon, I need to convince you guys that Creighton is actually the best team in the Big East right now, best suited for March. But before we do any of that, Tennessee, the number 6 team in the country, went on the road, went into Nashville, went into Vanderbilt, and they lost at the buzzer 66-65. Tyron Lawrence hit a game-winning three from the corner. He got it off with about 0.1 seconds left on the clock. Goodman, I've been on this bandwagon. I know you've been on this bandwagon as well. Tennessee is the most vulnerable high seed that we're going to see in the NCAA tournament. True or false?
No, true. Or you could say the most fraudulent high seed in the country.
Trying to be nice here, man. I'm trying to be nice.
Mighty, man. Fraudulent. You love that word.
I'm just saying, like, they ran the shit up for the net rankings so that they're like number 1, 2, whatever. They are not and have never been the number 1 or 2 team in the country. I know they beat Kansas back in November. That was a hell of a win. But if you look at who they've beaten in the SEC and some of the teams they have pounded up on in non-conference, I mean, let me read you their SEC wins, all right? 2 against Mississippi State. At home now, they've beaten Georgia, Auburn, they've beaten Vandy, they've beaten Ole Miss, South Carolina, LSU. How many of those teams will be in the NCAA tournament? I will say 1, and it's Auburn, and they are fairly fraudulent as well. So to me, this Tennessee team is a good team. It's a top 20 team. Nothing more, nothing less. That's what they are. They don't have a big-time scorer. They're great defensively, great, elite, but they don't have a dude that you can give the ball to and say, hey, go make a play.
I agree with a lot of that. Mac, I want to ask you this question before we get into Tennessee. You've known Goodman for a long time. What does he like saying more? So damn good, or calling somebody a fraud?
Right now it's frauds and fraudulent. He loves that word. I mean, he's calling Tennessee fraudulent. I mean, like, first of all, their defense is phenomenal. They don't have the offensive firepower that they've had over the last 3 or 4 years. I think they can beat anybody in the country, but I also think that, you know, they could be a quick out simply because they're going to get into situations where it's really tough for them to score, you know, and they can defend anybody. You know, I think you credit Coach Barnes, his staff. The kids are locked in. They know how to defend. They rely on each other. They trust in each other. But I just think offensively, they're going to have some nights, and that could happen in the first round of the NCAA tournament. You know, they're going to have some nights where they just can't score real well.
They don't have that one guy. Here's the thing. They don't have that one guy that when stuff kind of gets bogged down, you could just throw it to, and they can create something out of nothing. Like in March, in a 7-game series, that's a little bit less of a concern. When you're talking about a full season sample size, it's a little bit less of a concern. But when it's one and done, lose and you go home, you need somebody that can make something easy when it's not coming.
Yeah, inside or outside.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they don't necessarily have a guy that, like, you know, can really demand a double team, can really, you know, take somebody off the bounce. That's their Achilles heel.
I mean, look at their losses, right? And everybody says, well, Colorado at home, that was way back when, second game. It still counts, by the way. Kentucky at home. Kentucky, last I checked, probably on the wrong side of the bubble. At Florida. Florida's getting run right now by Alabama. They're on the wrong side of the bubble. And now at Vandy. I mean, Stack's done nothing with that program in 4 years. So that's honestly 4 losses today to non-tournament teams. They have 1 good loss at Arizona. That's it.
I'm with you. They're a team that is it's concerning to watch them play because of the struggles they have offensively as we pivot to another team that is
hey, no matter what, I'm picking them to lose in the first week. I don't care who they play. Doesn't matter. They could play Vassar. They could play Flagler College. It doesn't matter. I'm picking them to lose in the first week.
I promise you, if they play Vassar, they are going to win that basketball game.
I don't know.
You know, the crazy thing is they're looking at a W if the kid just goes in and lays it in with 12 seconds to go, rather than dribble it back out. That's the hard part of it. They've been up 4.
Pulled it back. Yeah.
Hey, Mac, if you're Rick Barnes, right, and you know that Julian Phillips is your kind of 5-star superstar, right? Probably the highest ceiling guy you have on that roster. My opinion is that if you really want to make a run in March, you got to find a way to make Julian Phillips be the guy that gets things easy for you, right? You got to find a way to get him more involved. How do you deal with that now? Like that's the kind of thing that can kill a kid's confidence, right? When you look in a situation and it's like one play at the end of the game and you can kind of say it cost him the game, that one play right there. That's probably a lot to put on him and maybe isn't fair, but
yeah, I mean, it's tough. They got senior guards, and so it's like those guys are then going to defer to a young guy and, giving the ball down the stretch. But, they've got to figure it out. They've got to figure out when like the going gets tough and they're in a really close game, a 1-possession game, like what are they going to, who are they going to? And they don't have that yet. And, Coach Barnes is a terrific coach. You see it. His program is there year after year. They've got to figure it out here over the next month before the tournament comes around.
Hey, Mac, they don't have it yet. It's not like they got Cam Thomas sitting down the end.
I know. Believe me, I know.
All right. So they're not getting that right now. That's it. They're good
frauds.
Again, listen, they're frauds as far as Final Four contenders, in my opinion. That's what they're frauds as. They're a top 20 team. I don't think they can win 4 straight games in the NCAA tournament.
I agree.
Frauds is just so malicious, though.
It is.
It's like
I'm
you
used
have
to calling
something
you two
against
frauds. That's the problem.
I know. I called Auburn frauds, and then I felt so bad about it. I'm never going to call somebody a fraud again because it made a headline. Like the AL.com was the front page headline on their main website. I was like, oh man, I like Bruce. Like I felt kind of like an asshole about that.
You are an asshole.
Yeah, that is true. We're talking about teams that can really guard, that don't really have an offensive threat. Iowa State goes on the road, loses at West Virginia. West Virginia is much better than what their record and what their league record says that they are. But, Mac, there are some warning signs with this Iowa State team. It's kind of the same situation. They can really guard. They make things uncomfortable for you. But when it comes down to it, when it's nut cutting time, who are you giving the ball to?
As I was watching the game tonight, it wasn't even who they giving the ball to, because the whole team had fouled out by the time they got down the stretch. They're playing 4-on-5. Like Lipsey's out there not even being guarded. He's their point guard. Guys are going under ball screens. They're sitting in the middle of the lane. It's one thing if that's your small forward, like Andre Jackson at UConn when that was happening to him. But it's another thing when it's your point guard and he's got to initiate. He's got to get around people. He's got to get in the lane. It's hard to get in the lane when your defender's standing there. And I just feel like, the last 2 games now, Iowa State, they haven't looked very good on offense. I give TJ all the credit in the world because I thought when he went 1-3-1 tonight against, West Virginia, it really bothered them. Seemed like the way they got their points were, even though they were patient, seemed like they got their points just, I don't know, sort of chunky and not very fluid. And that's what the 1-3-1 does for you. But I just don't think they're good enough on the offensive end, a little bit like Tennessee, to make a deep run in March.
Goodman, you agree?
West Virginia is kind of the opposite, right? I mean, West Virginia has kind of flipped it this year to where Hugs now has a really good offensive team, and they're not quite as tough, not quite as good defensively, but they got some dudes that can break you down and make some plays. And Eric Stevenson's been awesome the last 3 games, and he cooled off. He got hurt tonight, came back, didn't look himself. But some of the other guys stepped up. Emmett Matthews was great down the stretch. And listen, personally, I would love to see, Hugs, almost 70 years old, get to the NCAA tournament and do what Boeheim hasn't done and just say, you know what, I'm out. I'm going to go out on top, if that's what you want to call it, getting to the NCAA tournament, at least going out the right way, because I think he's I don't know if he's next, but I think he's among the next where NIL says, you know what? I don't want to deal with this shit anymore.
Yeah. Here's the issue with West Virginia. They are 15-9 overall right now. They are 4-7 in their league. They are a 10 seed as of today and are fielding the 68 bracket. They are a top 20 team on KenPom. They have really good metrics on in the net as well. Mac, you mentioned this last time we were on. The coaches in that league know who has road games left against what teams. Here are the road games that West Virginia has left on their schedule. Texas, Baylor, Kansas, and Iowa State. They still got to go on the road to play the 4 best teams in that conference. And they're already 4-7 in the league. Like, look, I want them to get in. I love the story. I think
they had to win tonight. Had to win.
I think that they were a really good team, but like, good luck, man.
Yeah,
you got to go 4-3 down the stretch, and you have the 4 toughest games that you're going to play all season in conference left to play.
I mean, you could be a really good team, which they are, and just you come up 0-4. But the thing about Hugs teams is I feel like those guys, Jeff may disagree this year. They're not the toughest in terms of like what you think about when you think of West Virginia toughness, but he's the type of coach that figures a game or two like that out on the road where you're like, holy shit, man, I had no idea those guys were going to pull that one off. I don't know where it's going to be because those 4 games on the road are monster games. But
they just got to win their 3 at home. They honestly just, if they can beat Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State at home.
Very doable.
Right. They go 3-4. That puts them at 7-11 in the league. 7-11 in the Big East this year with what they did
or
in
the Big
non-conference.
12, either
or
one.
the Big 12. Yeah.
Right. That gets
West Virginia left the Big East like 10 years ago. Good.
But I said Big East. Sorry, Big 12. That's what I meant.
Hey, if they steal one of those road games,
yeah,
they're looking all right.
Iowa State last year was the same situation, right? They were 7-11 in the league, and they got I believe it was an 11 seed and made a run to the Sweet 16. So it's doable.
I got my hat on for Hugs too to try to get to the tournament.
I got the shirt on. I got the shirt on for Deshaun Butler. My guy Deshaun Butler.
I don't think people realize how much. And Mac, you could talk a little bit about this because he kind of had the black hat. He was kind of the black sheep of from the outside with college basketball. But Bob Huggins' reputation within the coaching fraternity is what, Chris?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, guys love him. He's just a normal dude, man. Loves his fishing. His players will run through a wall for him. That dates back all the way to, when he was at Akron. Yeah. He's just a guy that kids love playing for. And I don't think that's changed. Even though he's gotten older, he's not as fiery as he used to be. No. Although he was giving it to the ref on that charge call at the end. But yeah, I mean, Hugs is very well respected within the coaching community.
You ever been out with Hugs, listening to Hugs tell stories, Mac?
I have. Usually I head home, when he still stays out. He's well out, after hours when everything closes down. And I usually had an 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. game I was trying to get to.
You didn't make it for those 8 a.m.
Hey,
all right. Go ahead. So Alabama and Florida just wrapped up here. This is Field of 68, Sirius XM, Channel 84, College Sports Radio. You can find us. Make sure you jump in the chat. Ask us some questions. We're going to be answering questions during breaks and in the afters, which comes after the show ends on Sirius. Real quick, I want to ask you guys about Creighton because they went on the road tonight and they won at Seton Hall. For my money, this is the team that I think is the most dangerous in the Big East when it comes to March. And the simple reason is this. They are really good offensively. They have multiple guards that can go get you a shot, and they can also really lock you up. My concern with Xavier and my concern with Marquette is on the defensive end of the floor. Marquette last night went into Hartford. UConn hasn't made a shot in like 6 weeks, and they put up 84 on Marquette. Xavier's had their issues on the defensive end. Is that crazy? Am I out of my mind to think that Creighton is the best suited to make a run in March, Mac?
Well, I think they're starting to. I mean, they were the team that lost 6 in a row at one point. Think about this. They're 16-8. You take those, obviously you're not taking them out, but that's 16-2 at the other games. I think they're on like a 6-game winning streak. They got the big kid Kalkenbrenner back. Like he's a load, man. He's getting more and more confident. And, they end up shooting 12 for 20 from the 3-point line. You go against Seton Hall, who outside of Amir Dawes, their whole team was 1 for 3 from 3. It's two different styles of play. Everybody was talking about Seton Hall trying to muck it up. you got to be able to score, and they
Mhm.
couldn't match Creighton's ability to make shots. And I think that's something that Creighton can take into the postseason. And if they're shooting the ball well in March, they can play with anybody. They can absolutely play with anybody. And again, Kalkbrenner's so damn big in there. He can affect shots. I think
Max adding vowels to his name.
Yep, adding vowels.
Kalkbrenner, my
Listen,
bad.
we'd like to let us welcome in the people that just listened to Alabama beat Florida 97-69. This is the Field of 68 After Dark. We are live, Sirius XM Channel 84. Rob Dauster, Chris Mack, Jeff Goodman. We are talking about Creighton right now in this moment. And Goodman, Creighton was a team at the start of the season that everybody had as either the favorite or the second best team in the Big East. They lost 6 in a row. A lot of that had to do with Kalkbrenner. He missed some time. He was sick. They look like they're hitting their stride, right? Well, they absolutely are hitting their stride. They won a whole bunch of games in a row. They're currently sitting 1 game out of first place in the Big East. My question to you, it's very clear that this is a team that basically has 5 guys, right? We see them go to their bench. Think good things don't happen. They lose Kalkbrenner. They lose 6 straight games. Are you worried about the fact that like a simple ankle sprain in the second round could torpedo a run? Because that's the biggest red flag to me with this group.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask Mac this after I answer, but absolutely. I mean, you talk about Farabello playing about 15 minutes a game, Frederick King playing about 10, Mason Miller playing about 9 or 10. I just don't know if that's enough with injury. I'm not worried. Obviously, in the NCAA tournament with the media timeouts, I'm not as worried about that. I'm worried about foul trouble and injuries because, to me, I don't know if McDermott has developed that bench enough and he couldn't for a while, right? You lose 6 straight. It's like, what can you do? You got to play your starters. You got to win. Every game matters. He hasn't had the luxury because of that 6-game losing streak to be able to throw in some of those guys like Farabello and King and Miller a little bit more. But Mac, like, what do you do with that? I mean, you're in a tough spot if you're Mac, if you're McDermott, but you got to find a way, don't you?
Well, I think his depth, had the opportunity to get a lot more minutes when Kalkbrenner was out during the 6-game losing streak. They were in different roles then. They had to produce way more. Obviously, if he goes down with an injury, anybody goes down with an injury in the NCAA tournament, it's not going to help your cause. Your team's going to look different. But, outside of that, I think those guys got experience behind him. He's unique, man. He can score it around the basket. He affects the game in a way that Creighton really hasn't had in a long time. And just their let it fly mentality, again, in March, that can just absolutely be a weapon that could propel you, all the way to a Final Four. And they've got that type of ability, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they can guard. They got the big fella inside. They're a really, really good team. Listen, we got to take a quick little break here. On the other side, we are going to talk about the Big 12, and I'm going to tell you why. There's one team that you want to bet it all on to win, to make a run to the Final Four out of this conference.
You're clear.
Dagan, what do we got in the chat?
Let's do it here. Let's keep it in the Big East while we're talking Big East. Where would you guys rank Marquette right now after they lost to UConn in the Big East? They still top 2, top 3? Where they?
I probably would still have them second.
So. I got them 3. I got them behind Creighton at the end of the day.
I would say Xavier and Creighton to me are the top 2. I think, I think Marquette would probably be 3.
I think Providence is I think it's a very clear-cut top 4, and then whatever order you want to put those 4 in, it's very hard to say that you're wrong with them.
So right? You have UConn as a clear 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have UConn in 5th, huh?
Yep.
I mean, in the standings they are.
They're too easy to scheme.
They're tied for 5th, Goodman. Let's say that they're tied for 5th.
They're too easy. They're too easy to scheme against.
All right. I'll give you that. Listen, Shaheen's done a hell of a job, and they played him tough
30 seconds
until the last few minutes. So I give him credit.
Yeah, I think out of all those teams, Providence is probably the least talented on paper, but I think Cooley is the best at finding a way to maximize the advantage he has in a single game setting. So I kind of You know, they got two good
10
guards.
seconds.
Hopkins is a monster. You know him. That's your guy, Mac.
Yep. You saw that first
There we
three he
go.
shot the other night. I couldn't believe it.
3, 2.
Also live over on the Field of 68 YouTube channel. Make sure you jump in the chat. We answer questions during the breaks. We will be hosting the afters after we are done on Serious. You can ask us questions. We'll be live for about 20 minutes. We'll be making sure that we drink a little bit of the brown water. You know how it is. It's always fun in the afters. All right, guys. I teased it before we left. Baylor, to me, they just knocked off Oklahoma 82-72 at home. To me, they are the most dangerous team in the Big 12, especially now that they've added Jonathan Tchamwa, and the threat that he has. Apparently he's a 3-point shooter. Apparently now he's a stretch 4, which is like awesome. If he ends up being a knockdown shooter, like that just becomes such an amazing story. I'm a huge fan of it. But you give me those guards, you give me that depth. We've seen Scott do it in March. Goodman, like, am I crazy to say that? I know that they are, what are they now, like in 4th place, maybe tied for 3rd in the Big 12?
Well, here's the thing. Again, guards win, right? Guards win in March. And who has better guard trio than Scott Drew, right? I mean, as long as they're healthy. And that's the big if, because they've been hurt a lot over the last year or so. LJ Cryer got hurt again tonight. Adam Flagler's been banged up over the last year. Keontae George is a difference maker.
Yes,
because all 3 of them can shoot the hell out of it. Like, I honestly think now Keontae is more of a scorer than a shooter, but the other 2, every time the ball goes up, I legitimately think it's going in every time Cryer and Flagler shoot it. And again, you add Keontae, who's gotten better and better here over the year. He was very inconsistent earlier this season, and now he's starting to put some good games together back to back here. And now, like you said, you got Tchamwa, who just plays with a ferocity like nobody else. I think I've said it all year. I think the 4-man are the key, honestly, for them as much as anything. And Bridges and Lohner are the key. And if they play well, one of them plays well each game, they got a chance to win this whole thing.
Yeah. For the record, 9 straight games, Jalen Bridges has been in double figures. It seems, Mac, like he's kind of figured it out a little bit.
He had. I agree with Jeff, though. I love their guards. I mean, Langston Love has 19 tonight. It just seems like most teams defensively are going to have one guy that's maybe a lockdown guy, maybe a couple, good defensive guys, but like, it's hard to check 3 or 4 guards that can do as much as those guys can do. They can score off the dribble. They can set one another up. They can get in the lane. If you help up and the shot's missed, you got guys that are tip dunking the ball home. I just think they got an opportunity as the big fella gets back. They could really be dangerous here over the next month and a half, 2 months.
Where do you see them kind of in the hierarchy of the Big 12 overall? Because, I mean, look, if you're going to make me bet on one team from that conference, it's going to be the one that's coached by Bill Self. you could put me and Goodman out there on the wings, and I think I probably would still trust him to try to find a way to get something done. But
I hear you on Kansas, and it's hard to ever bet against Coach Self, but watching them at Kansas State, I felt like it was almost too much of a one-man show. And I'm a huge Grady Dick fan, and Jalen Wilson's incredible. But like, I just felt like down the stretch, they didn't have enough around him. And it just it worried me for him, and I don't feel that way with Baylor.
Now, it should worry you. Yeah, it should for Kansas. They were really good last game and they won without Jalen Wilson. But that's almost, to me, more of an anomaly than anything. That's probably not going to happen again. So to me, Jalen Wilson has to have a great game. Grady Dick can't have a 2 for 12 game, because you can't rely on DeJuan Harris and KJ Adams and even McCullough to carry
Rice.
Guys. They're just not. That's not what they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are you worried at all, Jeff, about their defense? I mean, we talked about it with Marquette. I talked about it with Xavier. Baylor's kind of that same profile. They've been a little bit better recently, and getting JTT back will undoubtedly help. But when they won their titles, they were one of the best defensive teams across the entire country.
I do. Yeah, I do. Because honestly, you got 2 small guards and a freshman. So, like, they're going to have to outscore you. And as good as John is, he's missed a year. He's missed a full season. So His timing's not going to be there, although it seems to be there on the 3-point shot. But defensively, it's not there yet. So yeah, I don't. The beauty of this season is you just look around and you're like, who's going to win? Somebody's going to win 6 straight. Who's it going to be? We didn't think it was Kansas a year ago, right? It's going to be somebody that we're all saying like we don't think they can, and they're going to.
Look, if it's going to be someone, I think we can all kind of agree at this point. Purdue's probably the one that we'll put at the top of that list. I don't know how you don't have Alabama number 2.
I'll put Houston at the top. I'll still put Houston at the top of that list.
Okay, but they did play tonight. I was about to say they didn't play tonight, so stop ruining my my pivots, but my transitions. But they didn't
play
really
play. They didn't really play.
They played Tulsa. No, but Alabama. Look, the way that they guard, right? The way that they kind of space the floor, how hot they can get when they make their threes. The fact that most of the time, Mac, they're gonna have the best player on the floor in Brandon Miller, he was awesome tonight. He was out in transition, had some big dunks. I didn't realize quite how athletic he was. Like he was taking off from the logo and throwing it down in transition. But I love the fact that Nate can roll with. He has 3 different point guards that can give you 2 different looks, right? Whether you have Quinterly out there, it's Mark Sears, it's Jaden Bradley. And look, I beat this point to death, I know, but the last 10 of the last 11 national champions had 2 point guards on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to sell me on Alabama. I can't get the Oklahoma game out of my mind for whatever reason. I know that's probably the exception rather than the rule because they've proven it time after time. They're not just winning SEC games. In some of these games, like tonight, I mean, it's not even a game after 10 minutes. And once that happens, like those guys just play downhill, play with so much confidence. And, a 15-point deficit becomes 30. I mean, Nate's doing it, man. He's got a lot of young guys, and he's got a lot of talent on his roster. And I think Brandon Miller is as good of a freshman as I've seen in a while.
Mm-hmm. All right, answer the question, Goodman. You just tweeted it. I just saw you tweet it.
I'm taking Houston.
You're taking Houston over Purdue and Alabama.
Here's why. Alabama has the highest ceiling. Okay, they do. When they're good, they're friggin' unbelievable. Yep. But I think they can have those games where they go 2 for 20 from 3 and keep jacking. Houston, you know what you're getting. You've got 3 guards that can all put the ball on the floor. They're strong. They're veterans. They're experienced. That's the other part with Alabama that scares me. 2 of their best players are 3 of their best players are freshmen: Brandon Miller, Noah Clowney, and Jaden Bradley. Bradley's playing a little bit less now. You're seeing Quinterly start to play a little bit more over the last couple of weeks. I love Alabama. I'm just saying I trust Houston. Those dudes have been there. They've got all like 25, right? They got Jarris Walker and a bunch of guys that can go rent cars. Well, here you check it off. You say elite coach, check. Guards, veteran guards, that are versatile, right? A point guard in Shed, a combo guard in Sasser, Tremont Mark, a big guard, then a lottery pick in Jarris Walker. They have everything. Arsenault doesn't even play that much, and he's terrific. Like, he's a pro down the road, but he's got to wait his turn. Houston and their bigs know exactly what they're supposed to do. They're tough, they rebound, they defend.
Mac, I'm putting you on the spot. You got to pick one: Houston, Purdue, or Alabama.
I'm with Jeff when he says that I think Alabama for sure has the highest ceiling. And if you showed me scores without showing them teams, and I saw 80-60, 97-75, I could pick that, hey, Alabama advanced. But their youth does concern me. I think that, getting in a tight game, although Brandon Miller's special. I'm going to go with Purdue, man.
Wow.
I'm going to go with Purdue. I just think that, something about them, and I know that they have the exact opposite to what Houston has right now in the backcourt in terms of experience and older. But I just think the way that Matt plays, the fact that they're going to run their stuff. They got a guy that you have to double. If you don't double him, he's scoring every single time in the low post. Again, go back to Kalkbrenner, an ankle sprain, whatever. I mean, you just never know. Foul trouble. That's a hard one, man. Those three are
You know what
definitely
really impressed me? You know
those
what
are
really
the three that
impressed
would
me,
be in a
Matt?
hat for sure.
Like you would think that a Purdue team that plays at the pace that they do, that runs everything through a post guy, would not be a team that could come back on somebody, right? Well, they went into Assembly Hall. They got smoked. They got punched in the mouth in the first half.
Yeah.
Indiana hit them the way that everybody in that building probably wants to hit Jeff Goodman on a daily basis. And Purdue came all the way back, and they didn't hit a bunch of threes. It wasn't like they were just shot jacking and got lucky and were pressing or anything. They just kind of ran their stuff, and they kept throwing it into Edey, and they kept playing defense. Like, they kept doing what they do, and they cut it to one with the ball and a chance to take the lead. Then they turned it over. Indiana scored. They came back. They had the ball again, and with like 10 seconds left, with a chance to tie the game. Like they came all the way back on the road, playing the way that they play. And that impressed me more than just about anything that I've seen them do this season.
Yeah. I also think they're going to be battle tested, although, the tournament, that never really seems to matter, as everybody talks about. But they're going to have played some teams, and they're going to have played in some environments.
It matters for the Pac-12, who hasn't won it in an eternity, because it's like
hey Goodman, we got about 40
league.
We got about 45 seconds here. Tell me why we shouldn't have Arizona or UCLA in that conversation, or why we should in the conversation we just had.
No, I think they're right there. Again, and I picked UCLA to win it all in the preseason. Their depth concerns me a little bit. I think they're both in the next tier. Do they have a chance? Sure, I think they have a chance. That's it, though. Again, the Pac-12 is like a mid-major league this year, other than those two.
I don't think those two have been as nearly as impressive as the three we just talked about. Throughout the year. I know Arizona's got a great record, but I haven't been as impressed as I have been with those three we just talked about.
Yeah, I tend to agree with a lot of that. I think I'm a little higher on Arizona than you guys are at this point, because they've really been defending recently. Listen, we just talked all about Final Four contenders and national title contenders. When we come back, we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to talk about the Blue Bloods that are currently sitting on the bubble, and whether or not Kentucky and North Carolina can actually get into the NCAA tournament this year. Goodman, come on. Goodman, you got to give me credit for that one.
That was a good tease.
That was a good one.
That was good, Dauster. That was good.
Got you coming in a minute here.
I was preparing for that one all night. I had that
one. That was a good
down.
All right. Well, while we wait for Scott Drew, I'll shoot with a question. Brady wants to know which team is more likely to lose on the first weekend: Tennessee, Texas, or Iowa State. I think we can eliminate one team there probably.
I'm going to say Iowa State, because they're going to have by far the lowest seed of those two, or those three.
That's true.
Yeah. Maybe not. Iowa State, they're 3.
Yeah, but they're going to end up losing some games here down the stretch.
But their seed won't drop much.
That's true, because they're playing against good teams every night.
We just said 3 different things, and every single time we said something.
I don't think there was a straight answer there.
Goodman's got to stick with Tennessee. I mean,
I'm sticking with
Goodman, what color is that over there? Green. Yeah,
I'm sticking with Tennessee.
No, it's red. Yeah, that's true. No, it's blue. Yeah, that's true.
I'm trying to pay attention to John Higgins tossing 3 guys from the Utah State game, because he's repped
30 seconds.
42 straight days.
Yeah, unbelievable. All right, Dagan, give us one more.
Here we go. Jacob, do you think UConn is Final Four good if the bench continues to show up?
I'll take this one. It's not the bench that matters. It's
I didn't want your answer, Rob. I wanted
Andre Jackson being confident and Tristan Newton dropping triple doubles. If that shit's gonna happen,
10 seconds.
Yeah.
Also, Scott Drew is here, so whenever you're ready to bring him in.
Bring him in.
Here we go. 3, 2.
Welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark. We are live, Sirius XM, Channel 84. You can join us on YouTube. We are answering questions from the chat. We're going to be jumping into the afters in a little bit here in about 25 minutes as soon as we are done live. We have a special guest with us right now. It's a surprise guest. I didn't even know he was coming on. It is Baylor head coach Scott Drew. Scott, I got Jeff Goodman here with me. I got Chris Mack here with me. And let me ask you this. So Mac told us that he went fishing yesterday for 6 hours and didn't get a single bite. I know you're a bass fishing guy. Can you please give this man some tips, because he is struggling over there?
Mac Attack, it's great to see you, my man.
What's up,
Hey,
Scott?
thanks for wearing the Adam Flagler t-shirt tonight. I love that. Hey, it's great seeing you, Jeff and Rob. So I will definitely after season love to come down and help you out with that fishing stuff.
He doesn't like to give tips. He just likes to show pictures of all the bass he caught during recruiting.
You can airbrush a lot of big fish in them.
Scott, give us first of all the big news of the night, not just the win over Oklahoma, which you pulled away late. Congratulations! Anytime you can get a Big 12 win this year, you're celebrating.
Yeah.
How about Jonathan Tchamwa Tchatchoua and his 3-point shooting? What is going on? When? First of all, giving him the green light, number one. Second of all, him draining threes since he's been back. What is going on?
Well, when you shoot 1 million of them in rehab, you deserve to shoot them in a game. So, and Jeff, you've been here, you've met him. Rob, I don't know if you've spent time with them. I know Mack Attack knows in coaching, all coaches know who the special guys are. And what I mean special, just unbelievable workers, great teammates. Like, I promise, if there were 13 of them, everybody would coach. And they would love that team. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, so happy for him. I tell you what, when you're coaching and you're a parent and they call a foul on your son, you get a little more mad. Like when they call a foul on John, I just get a little more mad. Like, hey, that's John. Like, give him a break. All right. You know what he's gone through? The guy's lucky to walk. I mean, like, but anyway, I know who you want for the Super Bowl, Jeff. And I know you're obviously Hugs must be sending you a case of moonshine for wearing that hat.
Listen, all right. Number one, I am rooting for Hugs to get in the NCAA tournament this year. I am, because who knows when Hugs is going to be done. He's almost 70. So I will admit I'm rooting. And number two, if you can tell me whose jersey this was, I will buy you dinners every night I see you in July on the road.
Yeah, I got no clue.
Mac didn't know either. You guys are my age. Wilbert Montgomery.
Really?
Come on.
I do know that. Yeah. I mean,
Mac
I
had
think
no
I had his
idea.
football card.
Mac doesn't even know his name.
Mac roots for the Bengals. I don't
does
care
root
about
for
the
the
NFC.
All right, Scott,
Hey,
talk
Scott,
to me a little bit. Or go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to ask about big fella. John, obviously he's back for you. How much is he practicing? How much, what are you doing between games where fans don't see? Because obviously he's had a long road to get to this point.
Yeah. I can tell you that it was within the first week of his injury. I looked down in the practice gym. He's on a stool, got his leg in a big brace, and he's doing form shooting 1 foot from the rim. And I mean, like, are you serious? I mean, just special. But he's been in November doing some limited stuff. December, he started practicing more, but he's always been with the scout team.
Right.
Because, and that's really helped our team. I thought when we started out, mid-December is when he started doing a lot more. But when we started out 0-3 in conference, that's when he was going full practices and every rep, and it made us tougher, more physical, but it's always been with the scout team.
Right.
So, like, when he said he's ready to go and the doctors cleared him, it's great, but there's two things I do know. One, it takes time to develop chemistry, and there's so many new players on our team, just like every team, from Caleb to Jalen to Josh to Langston to Keontae, and that timing is going to take some time. The second thing is, remember, Baylor is the only school to ever not have a non-conference. And I can tell you, if you come back when we did in conference, and he's even come back after that, yeah, I use the best analogy is Texas. We got 75-mile-an-hour speed limits. So everyone's going getting on the freeway and you're going 40, 50, 60. It takes time. And that's what the non-conference does, get you up to speed. So like John, this next couple of weeks going to be huge to get rhythm, figure things out. Jeff, you can't go 75. You guys get stuck in traffic where you're at, but that's
Very true.
Hey, Scott, my sources have told me that you don't really pay attention to those speed limit signs anyway. So
He can't drive. He's a terrible driver. He knows it. His wife doesn't even want him driving.
Hey, Scott, let me ask you this. I think when someone has an injury like John's was, I think the hardest part is the mental aspect of it, right? Where all of a sudden you go from competing with a team to now you got to sit out. You don't know if you're ever going to be able to play this sport, do this thing that you've put your entire life into, right? So how did you guys help him with that? I can't imagine it was easy for him to deal with.
Yeah. So I learned this from some Dennis Lindsay used to be a GM for the Jazz. Said anyone that they had with a long 6 weeks or more, the mental part, especially 6 months or more, was more important at the end than the physical. And we have some people on campus that have helped them, but we also got a specialist to help them. And that is, if I could pass anything out to other coaches nowadays, we understand mental health, mental awareness, but I'm just telling you for anyone come back from an ACL or an injury like that, if you could get them with a specialist, someone deals with professional athletes coming back from that, it's really helpful.
Hey, Scott, I just wrote a story about Zach Edey yesterday, and I know you guys would have had him if his mother didn't.
We couldn't afford Zach. There's not enough food in Texas to feed Zach. All right. We went, and I'm just telling you guys, it was amazing. I have never seen this like nonstop. Like it was a steady pace, 2-3 hours. It just kept going. And that was every meal. Like we got done. I'm like, I don't know how we could pay for him. So I'm sure West Lafayette, they're doing a good job, but he's a great kid. So happy for his success. Great family. You should see his hockey outfit. They don't usually make them for the guys like that, but his last one was pretty big.
How about this, Scott? He still can't get a pair of size 20s from Nike. He's got one pair from the summer, and that's it. And it's been discontinued. Phil Knight, can we get another pair? The kid's the national player of the year right now. Come on, what are we doing?
Well, I tell you, there's perks to being our size.
Speak for yourself. I got size 15.
Yeah.
All right,
you got size what?
15.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got clown feet, Scott. He's
So-
got clown feet. Hey, last one I got for you, and then I'll let you go celebrate the win. Keontae George, coming as a freshman, had a big impact. It's never easy for freshman guards to make that transition. How has he kind of, is this what you expected out of him, this level of player?
Well, there were two things that we knew he was a great talent, but two things we really liked. One, he wanted to get better. He wanted to get coached. And a lot of times you get highly touted guys that are more about, they come in, my numbers, I'm out in 8 months, and it's about that. And he's always been about what the coaches want. He tries to please. And then even the better one is he tries to please his teammates. So if you get a talented player that wants to be a great teammate and wants to be coached, you're going to make strides. And one thing, again, I heard Dick Vitale mention it the other night. When we put in this COVID waiver thing, it really, really has hurt the freshmen. And I mean, you look at it like our freshmen that are playing, and our three are playing more minutes than I think anybody besides Duke in the country in the Power Five. We got three of them, and they're going against 24-year-olds. Like we're playing teams with 24-year-olds, like older than G League teams. You're playing 6-year guys. No other freshman has ever had to go up. And when I use the analogy with these 18 or 19-year-olds, what 13 or 14-year-olds beating you? You know what I mean? So like scouts and all them, it's something different because you're not comparing them. Normally, Chris, it's normally seniors that are going against fourth-year guys. Every once in a while, a fifth year, every once in a while, but never fifth and sixth are the norm. You go through scouting reports, and I mean, you're getting to the second page, and you're lucky if you see a freshman.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, last thing, 1 sentence answer, 1 sentence. For the Baylor Bears to go to the Final Four this year, what has to happen?
I'm going to say injury-free. And the reason is last year, we were 15-0. We lost Jonathan. We lost LJ. And then Langston, we lost him at the beginning of the year. So, I mean, that hurt. So there's with the parity nowadays, I'm telling anybody can, I mean, look at, we've had two last 4 teams in VCU and UCLA go to the Final Four? Really? I mean, it's true. It's just parity. You know,
Good one sentence answer, Scott.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. I was gonna say that was a great one sentence. I was really hoping that you were gonna say, "What do you have to do to get to the Final Four? Win 4 games." Thanks,
Yeah,
Jeff.
that's what I was thinking.
I thought you were going to say your defense.
I'm not as smart as you guys. Okay,
defense.
if you're going X and O's after we have our people to work with, definitely, and our defense has improved. Today it didn't. Tonight it didn't. And I go to the psychology of coaching. I mean, OU, you knew you were getting their best effort. Porter's a heck of a coach. They got in foul trouble and struggled at West Virginia. You knew after 2 losses they were coming in. Remember, this same team that was up 31 with a minute 30 to go against Alabama.
Mhm.
All right. I mean, so you're rooting for West Virginia to get in. I'm rooting for 9 Big 12 or 10 Big 12 teams to get in because it's a monster.
Yep. Listen, Scott, I appreciate the time, man. Thank you for being here. I better get an invite on that fishing trip if you're going out with Mac Attack. Listen, we're going to take a break here. On the other side, we're actually going to talk about North Carolina and Kentucky, like I teased before Scott happened to show up here. So, yeah, we're going to take a break now.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Appreciate
it,
you.
man.
Scott, good to see you, man.
Yeah, have a great night. Thank you.
You too.
That was the opposite of a good tease.
Yeah, that was rough. That one was very rough.
That was so bad.
That was rough.
Hey, look, at least the best, Mac, you could probably answer this. It's always nice to coach players that know their scouting report, right?
Yeah.
I know my scouting report. I'm a pretty good host. I can't tease. I can't do the tease. I can't do the teases.
Terrible.
Can't do the teases.
I'm great at teases. That's the strength. That's all I can do well.
That's about all you got. That's about all you got.
That's
Hey man, you said John Higgins threw a bunch of guys out in that game?
Yeah.
For both teams, was there a fight?
I think there was something. I don't know if it was both teams. I didn't see it. I just read it while we're on. But again, his schedule and I feel like he's teeing up somebody every game right now. And I like Higgins a ton. I think Higgins is one of the best guys out there. Here's my question, Mac. Here's my question.
Yeah.
And I'm on this soapbox. I don't know how much time we got. What do we got? You
got 20 seconds.
20
so maybe
seconds.
we save it for the afters.
All right, we'll save it for the afters. But don't let me forget to ask you about the coach.
Write that one down.
The coach-ref relationship here.
Oh God.
10 seconds.
Let's just make them as uncomfortable as possible. That's
I
the
hate
best
some
part.
of those fucks.
Here we go. 3, 2.
Good song.
Welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark. Rob Dauster, Jeff Goodman, Chris Mack. We are live, Sirius XM, Channel 84, College Sports Radio. We are also streaming over on our YouTube channel. You can jump in the chat. We are answering questions there during every break. And in 10 minutes, we're going to be going to the afters. We have a lot to talk about in the afters. Our rundown kind of got blown up by the surprise guest, Scott Drew. So we have plenty to get to there. We do have a little bit more we need to talk about. 10 more minutes. I want to talk about Blue Bloods on the bubble, teams that are in bubble trouble. Let's start with Kentucky, because the Kentucky and North Carolina both surprising to me, Goodman, but the Kentucky one seems like it's a little bit more easily fixable to me. But they just, every time it looks like they've turned something around, another problem pops up. Where do you stand on Kentucky, and where do you will they ever be able to figure this out defensively?
So I actually think both Kentucky and Carolina are both going to get in the tournament at the end. Now, they may be in Dayton, and I hope to hell they don't put them, although maybe putting them against each other. I'm
all in on that, man. Put them,
I kind of am
Dayton,
too.
let's play in the first
that
four.
one I'll give you. Most of them I want to see high major against mid. But that one, you know what? I'll take Kentucky, Carolina in the first four in Dayton. I might actually go to that game. That would be awesome. All right, so we'll start with Kentucky, and just the fact that, again, I said this yesterday. Eric Musselman has been without 2 first-round picks all year for the most part, right? Brazil's out for the year. Nick Smith probably going to come back, but he's only played 3 games. And he's got Arkansas right now firmly in the NCAA tournament, and they just beat Kentucky in Lexington. Kentucky, on the other hand, has been healthy pretty much all year. They've got the defending National Player of the Year. They've got a lottery pick. one of the best versatile guards in the country, who's a killer in Casey Wallace, and they're on the wrong side of the bubble. To me, this is on John Calipari. This is on John Calipari to figure out, and he hasn't figured it out, period.
He hasn't. And I think it's more, we blamed it on the lineups earlier, right? At least I did. I was hard on the lineups. And it looked like he kind of fixed it a little bit by going with Casey Wallace, CJ Frederick, and Antonio Reeves at one of the 4s and Sheboy at the 5. Now the issue is people know how to beat Kentucky. They know how to break them down. They know how to get to the basket on them. We saw Self do it over and over and over again. Just put Sheboy in ball screens because they're going to play drop, and Sheboy can't. He has no idea what he's doing in drop. There's nobody in the country, Mac, tell me if I'm wrong on this. There's nobody in the country that is better at finding what your weakness is and just attacking it over and over and over and over and over again than Muss. That's just what he does. He figures out how to beat you, figures out where he has an advantage, and he goes
at NBA, right? It's the NBA
and if you go watch that game, like all they do in the second half is run ball screens with against Sheboy, and he's not good enough in drop coverage. And I guess, I mean, let's just talk big picture on this, Mac. If you're a coach and you have something that you know is a very obvious flaw in your team, it's something that can be exploited. Like, how do you solve that? Especially when it involves, like, Oscar's the reigning national player of the year. He's the star. He's the highest paid guy. He's the big attraction. Like, he's the guy that you built everything around, but like, he can't guard ball screens. So how do you deal with that as a coach? Like, do you blow everything up and try to restart it? Do you just try to tweak what you do? Maybe instead of playing drop, you just have them hedge hard. Like, how do you fix a situation like that?
Well, I think hedging hard would be tough for him. You know, I think that you're just asking him to get in foul trouble. It's not something he's done all year. You know, we had that issue years ago at Xavier. You know, we had the kid Matt Stainbrook, and people were putting him in ball screens. And we had your favorite, Jalen Reynolds. And
I love him.
What we ended up doing was playing a lot of zone. And, you know, we would mix our zone and man up. So it's like, okay, Musselman wants to come down the floor every single time and pick on Schwebe in ball screen situation. Oh, shoot, he can't on this possession because we're in zone. Then maybe the next possession we're in man. You know, you can go misses, you can go makes, you know, maybe coming out of a timeout. If you were in man for the last 3 possessions, now you go zone for a couple possessions. You may tell your team, hey, we're going to go zone for a couple possessions until they score. And so you're just constantly giving curveballs. And so for that coach that just wants to pick on you, he can't really do it over and over because he's going against a different look each and every time. I know that's against Cal's MO, but I would tell you he might have to do that because it's not like you're going to put Schwebe on the bench and say, hey, let's get somebody in here who can defend ball screens, because he's one of the best rebounders, if not the best rebounder in the country. You know, he attracts so much attention around the low post that I think you got to figure out a way to be better defensively because you need him on the floor. And I'm in the different camp. I think they're going to be in. I think that right now they're ahead of Arkansas in the standings. I know they lost to them the other day, but I think that they're playing better than they were 4 weeks ago.
Definitely.
Whereas I don't think we can say the same thing about Carolina. And that's what's scary when it comes to the bubble talk. To me, I don't think that those two teams are even on equal footing at all when it comes to like being nervous about making the tournament. You're obviously nervous all the time if you're where Kentucky and Carolina are at, but I think Kentucky's going to be fine.
I actually like that because you're right. I mean, Kentucky has played much better lately. There was a trajectory of them getting better. They beat Tennessee. Last night, I thought they took a step back, losing at home to Arkansas, where Carolina has looked flat for a while now. And not. I was at the Duke game, and I actually talked to Hubert about it after the game, and I just said, listen, like, there's no emotion out of your team. Like, they look like they don't like playing with you. Now, not as bad as it was last year, Rob, when we were at Mohegan Sun. It was really bad.
It was that. I think it was that bad last night. Like the effort defensively in the first half was like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, do you guys even care?
Well, you know what both of them have? Here's what both of those teams do have, though. They have 5 men that are not shot blocking 5 men at all. They don't protect the rim at all.
But they didn't protect it last year.
Yeah. And the issue last
night, they had a month. They had one good month, Chris. They've now had, under Hubert, they've had All right,
Well,
so
Jeff, here's
mediocre-
the thing. Here's the thing, right? With North Carolina, you would have expected some kind of improvement. Like we can bang on Cal all we want, but the bottom line is this: like he's gotten the team so it's trending like this, right? They're going in the right direction, whereas North Carolina is not. And then last night, so to me, Kentucky is like a flawed defensive team, which means that they can try as hard as they want. There's still going to be ways. They're never going to be Virginia, right? There's still going to be ways that you could break them down. It was not an effort thing with Kentucky last night. It was kind of like a personnel matchup kind of a deal. Whereas North Carolina did not look like they were trying. And like, tell me if I'm wrong, Mac. 75% of defense is giving a fuck about playing defense.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you, man. That first half was brutal last night. I mean, they were down, 24? But it was, and a lot of the baskets that they were getting, Appleby was doing a great job getting to the rim, but there were a lot of things where the uncontested dunks and layups. And when that's happening, somebody's breaking down, somebody's quitting on a play, somebody's not where they're supposed to be. And I've seen too much of that from Carolina almost all year.
Yep. They don't have their best win right now is Ohio State on a neutral. That's their only quad one win. They're 1-8 in quad one games.
And I know we're crushing them on the defensive end, but offensively, I feel like, it goes hand in hand. If you're not giving a rat's ass on the defensive end, it's hard to play together on the offensive end. And we've talked about trying to get the ball into Baycott, and it's not happening. They're taking wild shots. The ball's on the perimeter with 6 seconds left in the shot clock. They're not playing inside out. It's not a good look. I think Baycott's on the perimeter a lot, handing off and not really doing anything. So
he's got to touch the ball somehow, right? Like,
yeah,
throw it into him.
I get it, but it's not going to be very effective.
All right, we got about 90 seconds left here, but I do want to ask you this because one of the things that came out last night, Hubert said it in the post-game press conference, I believe, or he told a reporter or something, but he talked about it, that they had a big like locker room talk, and they kind of sat down and they had we got to air everything out. We're going to air out our grievances. That's never a good thing, like in the middle of February, right? Like that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of stuff you want to figure out in December, right?
Can be if it's genuine, but I just watching the games lately, I don't know how real that talk was. I wasn't in there, so I don't know, but I've seen just as many.
Wait, you weren't in the North Carolina locker room?
No.
I could have sworn they had you playing the 4.
But I've seen just as many.
Would North Carolina have been better or worse defensively if you were at the 4 last night?
If I were on the floor, a lot worse. A lot worse.
Would you use?
I would communicate pretty well, but that's about it.
Well,
the main word would be help.
Listen, we're gonna continue this conversation in the afters. Make sure if you're listening on Sirius, you jump over and check us out, Field of 68 on YouTube. This has been fun. Field of 68 After Dark. We'll be back tomorrow night, 11 p.m. So for Jeff Goodman, for Chris Mack, for our producer Kono, for producer Dagan, my name is Rob Dauster. We'll see you guys again tomorrow night.
Dinner clear.
All right, Dagan, cue up the afters.
It has
What do we
been
got,
queued.
Dagan?
It's been queued.
Let's open on
Yeah,
the ref
let's say.
conversation. Yeah,
Yeah,
open on the
talk
ref
about the ref
conversation.
conversation.
All right. So here's my deal, Mac.
Yep.
So I'm going to defend.
I've never seen him so unenthused about having to answer a question. Shit, where's this one going to go?
No. Here's what I say. There are probably 10 coaches around the country. Well, they're probably more at the low and mid-major level, but we don't see those guys. But there are probably 8, maybe 6 to 8 coaches that are out of their minds, that don't shut the hell up, that all they do is want to talk to the refs the entire game, and they're out of control. And my take is these refs should hammer the shit out of these coaches and run them early in the season to make it so they know it's over. One of which I'll say, I mean, listen, 2 of them are Dan Hurley and Calipari. 2 of them are Hurley and Calipari never stop, in my opinion. And I think it would be over. And to me, it's just so much harder for a ref to do their job and do it well when you got somebody chirping at you the entire game and they want to talk to you. I get you all want to converse with the coaches, with the refs, and you're not nearly as bad with the officials as some of these guys are. But what needs to be done? Now you're watching it a little bit different. You're not in it like you were. So maybe you have a different view of it. I don't know. What's your take on this?
I think a lot of times the NCAA will come out with points of emphasis, and bench decorum or coach decorum has been on there before, and they've always pointed to the NBA, how docile those guys are on the sidelines in comparison.
Yep.
But it's a different game, man. It's a different game. I think the thing that I would struggle with is when you go against a team that has a coach that just hounds the referees, constantly complaining, jumping their ass. And you feel like if you're going to be that guy that just sort of like, hey, I'm going to let my players play, I'm going to let the officials officiate.
You're going to get screwed. You're going to get screwed.
You feel like, that old saying, like, that guy's going to get a call down the stretch, and it's like, it's really difficult to have the self-control of like not going back at the official when you feel like the other side's doing that as well. Now, there were times I'd have to have talk with myself, like, leave the officials alone.
Yeah.
And there were a couple that were really difficult for me personally, just because I felt like, man, it was just a personality conflict between he and I. And there were some emotional games that we've had over the years. So you get that score sheet before the game, the pregame score sheet or whatever it's called, and you see those three officials' names, and you see the one that you're like, oh my
you're like, oh,
God,
no.
I got this dude. And I'm sure he's probably looking at his travel schedule like, oh God, damn, I got this guy.
Yeah.
And so you walk out there before the national anthem, you say, hey man, how you doing? How your kids doing? All that stuff. And then you're cussing them out 5 minutes later. But it's a challenge, man. It is. And so that's what I would try to do, is just sort of if I ever felt like, man, after the game or during the game, my concentration's in the wrong spot. I got to put it back on our players and our staff and what the other team's running or trying to do to us. I had to have those conversations.
I got one more for you before we jump off this. So John Higgins, some of these guys, even Roger Ayers, they're two of the best in the business, but they're doing, 12 games in 13 days and whatever, 8 different states, whatever, crazy shit.
Right.
I've said they need a universal assigner here so that Higgins isn't going. They make sure he's got a day off. They make sure, even if he doesn't have a day off, he's not going from Midwest to West Coast back to Midwest.
The craziest one, not to cut you off, the craziest one was he had a 11 p.m. Eastern time tip at Stanford.
That's right.
You have to drive. The game ends at 1 a.m. Eastern time, 10 o'clock Pacific time. You have to drive up to San Francisco, take a red eye to Chicago, drive 2 hours to West Lafayette, and he was reffing at 1 o'clock Eastern time in a Purdue game. Like 14 hours between tips, and you're taking a red eye in between like that. There's no way he's feeling good when he's walking into that gym.
And these guys are good. I mean, they're really good.
Yep.
And they understand the game. They can be emotionless in a good way about the game. But when you're fatigued, when you wake up on the wrong side of the bed or you never went to sleep, things can rub you the wrong way. I don't know enough about the logistics to speak intelligently about like a universal assigner. I've been in all these conference meetings, and you've got, the coordinator between 3 leagues, and certain guys can do this league and that league, and they're doing consortiums. And so, hey, now they're in a closer city. And I just said, who are my freaking referees for the next game? That's all I really need to know. So I can't speak very intelligently on terms of like how they can correct it. But a guy shouldn't be working 13, 14 straight days. He just should.
Let me ask you this, Mac. Beyond like the obvious, making all the good calls, right? Making all the right calls, getting everything correct. What makes a good official to you? Like when I know people fans love to talk about TV Teddy, coaches love the guy, right? Why? What is it about someone like him, some of these other coaches? You mentioned Roger Ayers, you mentioned John Higgins. What makes a good official beyond just like getting calls right?
Well, I think that they'll converse with you. They'll tell you they missed a call. I think a lot of times, even though it's not helping you in the moment, for them to recognize, hey, man, I missed that one. That was my bad. You might be right on that one, because it's the time where you have that official that just never bends. Like, I'm always in the wrong. And that just sort of grates on you a little bit when you feel like he's always going to be right. But the officials that can converse with you, that can calm you down, say, hey, Chris, listen, I got it. I understand. They got 2 team fouls on them, 14 on you. I got it. Let me officiate. And versus the ones that just sort of like run by your bench and tell you to shut up. That's when it gets difficult to deal with.
When you retire,
for me,
when you officially retire, we'll get your top 5 officials that you hated.
Yeah, I want to know what you mentioned that. Which
I'm
official
retired.
ran
Go
by
ahead
the
and
bench
tell
and
me,
told you
man.
to
Go
shut
ahead
the
and
fuck
ask me.
up? Which official ran by the bench and told you to shut the fuck up? We know because that if you're mentioning that happened before. I got to know.
I can't remember, man.
Oh yeah, sure.
Good answer. There you go. Media training paid off for you. Dagan, hit us with some questions.
I'm going to actually start with a few questions on my own that we didn't get to in today's rundown. Before I get to the chat questions, we had a little section of player superlatives, and obviously want to get your guys' answer.
Oh yeah. Dauster didn't get to him.
You did not. We didn't have time.
It's because Scott Drew bombed the Zoom.
Threw everything
All
off.
right.
So that's okay. Which player do you think can pull a Kemba Shabazz and kind of lead their team?
Mac, you want to start?
Yeah, Mac, you might.
I'll
let
start.
you
I'm gonna go a different direction with this. So I'm not going to say Kemba Walker. I'm gonna say pull like a Danny Manning.
Okay.
Because that's a different position. Doesn't have the ball in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with TJD.
Wow.
Indiana,
Wow.
they've won 6 in a row.
Whoever thought you would say that? I mean, if I had told you you'd say that 3 years ago,
I'm going to tell you, well, I think he's always been talented, right? But like, number one, he's not just a back to the basket player, right? He'll get a defensive rebound. He'll push it in transition. He'll take guys off the dribble. He's on the perimeter just as much. He's on the, in the post. And I just think he's playing with a different type of toughness. And you get Xavier Johnson back. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, when that could happen.
probably will. Yeah,
They're
my sources say he'll be back. The goal is for him to be back for the Purdue game, which gives him, I think, 3 regular season games.
I mean, Schifino's playing extremely well. I just think that, like, they've won 6 in a row now, I believe. And to me, he's that guy. He's averaging 20, 11, and 4. I don't know why he couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's 7 out of 8 that they've won. I actually had TJD as one of the guys. I wrote down 3 names just to make sure that I would be able to get mine. I'll let you go. I'll let you go next, Goodman. I'll let you go next.
All right. My pick is Keontae George. I just think he's that freshman who's just a professional scorer who can get going and put up, back to back 25s. And once he gets going, that confidence will soar, and he can score at all 3 levels. An elite offensive player. And again, as we've seen, like, Baylor can put points on the board, and I think they can win it. Like you picked, Chris, like Indiana has a chance to go to a Final Four. You got to pick one of those teams that you think can go to a Final Four, and Baylor's one of those.
I hate that pick for one specific reason. Like, they're going to be like a 2 seed or a 1 seed. The whole point of this is take a team off the radar and pick a guy. Mac picked a team that's going to be like a 5 or 6 seed. You pick a 2 seed. You pick the team we just said is going to be the best team in the Big 12.
That's weak.
Going
that's
against
weak,
the
Goodman.
entire spirit of the question, Goodman.
That was a TO answer. That's what that was.
That was a TO answer, right?
I didn't
Only if it was TO,
question.
if it was
I
TO,
didn't
he would have given
understand the
3 of them. He would have been like, I'm going to take Zach Edey. I'm going to take Keontae George.
No,
and Jalen Wilson.
I'm taking a guy that could carry his team to a national title. I didn't know we were
you're
going
supposed to take someone off.
Right.
Anyway, against
Off
the
the
spirit
radar.
of the question. Mine, I don't. You guys might call me crazy for this one. I'm going to go with Anthony Black, under the assumption that Nick Smith is going to come back at some point. And the reason I say that is Muss's teams follow a script that we've seen each of the last 3 years. They play like shit in January. It's like he's dropping games on purpose to make people like me say, oh, they can't win. Oh, they're not any good. They can't do this. They can't do that. Then he figures out what he's got, figures out how to make it work, wins everything in February, wins everything in March, and finds a way to make a run into the Elite Eight. He's going to do that again this year. He's going to get Nick Smith back. And this is the most talented team that he's had since he's been at Arkansas. I know he's got a bunch of freshmen, but with Nick Smith back, you're going to have 2 lottery picks. You're going to have a 23, 24-year-old and Ricky Council who might end up being an NBA player. You got a couple big guys inside that he's kind of figured out how to use in the Mitchell twins.
Until he runs into the Hoosiers.
Yeah, until he runs into the Hoosiers. There you go. Baylor doesn't count in this conversation. What's the second one of this?
Well, first off, Rob, I really thought you were going to go with Justin Moore there. I know that you love a little bit of Villanova. Just do the whole thing like Kemba did. Just
I thought about
the whole thing back. All right, next one. Who can pull a Steph and get a mid-major to the second weekend?
You don't have one, Dagan?
What? Oh, I must have cut out or something. I didn't even hear what you guys said.
Do you have one?
Of course, I don't have one. I'm the producer. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what I think. Who can pull a Steph and get a mid-major to the second weekend?
This is easy.
Go ahead.
I got two.
Go ahead, Mac.
The first one's easy. I mean, he's already done it. Max Abrams, at Oral Roberts. I mean, he was in the Sweet 16 a couple of years ago. He's averaging 22 a game. They beat Ohio State. They beat Florida. They almost beat your Arkansas Razorbacks to get to the Elite Eight.
But they didn't.
I know they did. The question was, who can get to the second weekend? The other guy, I'm going to sort of a little bit more off the radar, and they're slightly above middle of the pack in Conference USA, would be Jelly Walker at UAB.
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
That'd be another guy to put on the radar for a mid-major to get to through the first weekend to the second weekend.
All right, mine. I'm going to steal yours, Rob, because I would assume you're going to go with this guy, Aiden Mahaney at St. Mary's, mid-major guy, freshman.
Hold on. I'm cutting you off. Mid-major St. Mary's, yeah.
He's mid-major. Look at the gym he's in.
Come on, Goodman. What is this?
Goodman, you're not allowed to play this game anymore.
Goodman.
Look at their budget.
You're not allowed to play this game anymore.
St. Mary's is a mid-major. St. Mary's is a mid-major.
Right,
go to Moraga.
Continue.
Go to that gym.
Oh, I know it's a mid-major, but go ahead.
Mid-major.
Go ahead.
St. Mary's.
That's it? That's all you got? Just mid-major St. Mary's?
Go ahead.
Unbelievable.
I'm out.
I'm going with Darius McGee at Liberty. He's a guy that can put up 30, 35, 40 on any given night. He plays for a coach that we've seen have a little bit of success in March. Yep. Liberty can guard. They know how to play. They got other players on that roster. The two for me are obvious. It's Max Abmas and Darius McGee. I would have gone Max Abmas if you didn't steal him, Mac. The biggest reason why is Connor Vanover and Isaac McBride. Like, it's not just him. They got other high major dudes on that roster. 7'8" guy that can make threes. McBride started at, was it Vanderbilt? I think. Might be making that up somewhere. Anyways, that's who I would go with. Dagan, what's the last one?
All right, we got one final one, and I'm very excited to hear Jeff's answer for this one because we're 0 for 2. We're 0 for 2. So
Brandon Miller, ladies and gentlemen.
Who's the player that can raise their draft stock the most in March?
Goodman, go first. I'm dying to hear what you got to say for this one.
I am going with an Alabama player. I am going with an Alabama player.
Ooh, I know who you're going with.
But I'm going Noah Clowney.
Yeah.
Because I think if he gets hot from three, and he's been ice cold lately, but again, he's a big, athletic, skilled dude. And to me, I just think if they go deep and he starts making shots from three, like, teams are going to be like, holy shit, what can't this dude do in time? Again, he's still raw, but he's one of those dudes that's got all the skills, all the ability, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had a tough time with this question because I don't necessarily think that their team's going to go crazy far in a tournament. I do think they're a tournament team, but I don't see them getting to an Elite Eight or Final Four, and that's obviously what you have to do in order to really get seen and sort of shoot up the drafts. But Terquavion Smith from NC State, who I don't think the rest of the country truly knows about. He's got really good size for a guard. He can break you off the dribble, score it any way he wants. He's electric. If he gets a little bit stronger, I'm sure he's already on mock draft boards. I'm not sure where, but I can see that dude being a long time NBA player and a guy that can get some buckets.
Mac, what's funny? He was one of the guys that I had written out for the Kemba Walker thing.
Yeah.
What are the under consideration for a guy that can make a run to the Final Four or national championship?
And I
All right.
told you, like last year, we played them twice. And the first time we played them at NC State, when Matt Cross hit that three in the corner, and Terquavion was taking these wild, crazy shots. And I've been watching them on film, and I'm like, this dude has no clue how to play. Then a couple weeks later, they're at our place, and it's like, my God, we couldn't stop him. I mean, our guys were like 12 to 15 feet off of him when he gave you the little hezzy and act like he was going to go around. You guys were dropping off so far, and he's a terrific talent.
Yep. All right. So I went full TO on this one. I got two. The first one is Julian Phillips, right? If Tennessee finds a way to make a run, I think it's going to be because they turn him into a go-to guy. He was a top 10, top 15 recruit, something like that. Made his commitment on the field of 68, by the way. That was
the fraudulent volunteers. Is
the
good.
fraudulent volunteers. If they prove to not be fraudulent, it's going to be because Julian Phillips wakes up. And if they make a run, then he's going to fly up those draft boards. The other one that I have, I'm curious to see what your response is going to be to this, Goodman. It's Coleman Hawkins. If Illinois makes a run, a lot of that's going to have to do with the fact that Coleman Hawkins plays well. When Coleman Hawkins plays well, when he's at his best, you got a 6'10" dude that makes threes and passes off the dribble. That's everything that NBA scouts are looking for.
How many directional schools will make the NCAA tournament?
He'll play one of them. Yeah, he'll play like one of them. But regardless, if you have a 3-game stretch where you get good Coleman Hawkins on a national stage, like someone's going to fall in love with that dude, and he's going to end up being like a top 18 pick. Now, there's a very good chance that you could get bad Coleman Hawkins in the first round, and Illinois loses by 25 to some like 11 seed or something like that. That could very well happen. But if Coleman Hawkins plays his best, he's the kind of guy that can fly up those draft boards.
Yeah, no, listen, Coleman Hawkins is NBA teams will love it, right? The long athletic skill big, who can switch on defense. So yeah, I mean, if he gets going, you're right. I mean, he can move from a second rounder to in the first round.
Yep. Dagan, what do we got in the chat?
We're going to ask a few chat questions here, but everybody seems to be losing it. Well, Mac's still going strong, but Dauster and Goodman seem to be losing it. Illinois, Indiana, can't really figure out the difference.
Yeah, I know.
It's a little late for you guys.
Twice in like one sentence. That was bad.
Yeah, that was tough.
Between that and my tease,
your tease,
Goodman,
yeah.
I gotta be cut off.
Tease hasn't rattled.
Yeah, that last tease was not it. Michael asked this the other night, and I'm going to ask it to you guys as well. Your alma maters, or in your case, Rob, since your alma mater doesn't play in the NCAA tournament, we'll give you UConn. Where do you guys see them in the tournament this year? Goodman, we'll start with you. How high do you think they can get as a seed, or where do you see them ending up being seeded? So Arizona for you.
I mean, I think Arizona could get a 1, but they're not going to. I think they're probably a 2 at the end of the day, 2-3. Probably a 2 because, again, there's just not a lot in the Pac-12 that's overwhelming. But they've shown they can lose to some teams that they shouldn't lose to also, like Utah, like Washington State at home. So, yeah, I mean, I like him. I like him a lot. I think Tommy's done a great job with him this year. Most people the last 2 years haven't had him in the preseason top 25. And they're in the hunting. And that's everything, because now he'll get momentum. He's got recruiting momentum now. So where he could have lost it out of the gates. So I would say a 2 seed.
All right, I'm going to Mac next because I don't want to hear about UConn right now. So Mac, Xavier for you.
Yeah, I think they'll be around a 3 seed, as long as they sort of stay, where they've been at. If they end up winning the Big East, they could maybe get to a 2 seed. And I think that we've been talking about it really from the beginning. I think they can score on anybody. I think they get Fremantle back. They'll figure out a way to play a little bit more depth while he's out. They get him back, and as long as he's, 90% of what he was.
Are you worried about that, Chris? As a coach, it sounds like he's going to come back right before the end of the probably for Big East tournament play. So maybe he gets in 2 games, maybe 3. Who knows how many he gets in Big East tournament play? How worried should Xavier fans be about that?
I mean, as a coach, you're only worried about your next practice. We'll deal with that when it comes down the pipe. Now we get to where he's been released and he's able to practice. We'll sort of have a feel for how many minutes we can give him, how much confidence he has in himself. if he looks exactly like he did before he went down, if he's hesitant, you'll sort of figure that out through the practices and, leading up to that first game. He'll get his jitters out first game, but Zach, he's not a freshman now. He's in his, I think, 4th year of college basketball, right? He's seasoned. He's been through this injury before. I think it helps your depth. And if Sean can continue to win games without him, I think you're always going to welcome back, your best scorer, your guy that was their sort of go-to guy in the post, over the last several weeks.
Would you be worried about playing a guy coming off a foot injury in a setting where it's going to be like 3 straight back-to-back games?
Yeah, I would be. I think that you take that sort of a game at a time. I know that sounds cliche-ish, but you don't walk into the tournament saying, hey, we're going to have to play 3 games in 3 days. You don't know that. You're worried about.
But if you do, Chris, let's say his first game is the first game of the Big East tournament. It'd be like Thursday, let's say, right? You win Thursday, you play him 10 minutes. Are you just listening to the doctors?
Yeah, absolutely. You're listening to the doctors. You're listening to the trainer. You're listening to, how honest the kid's trying to be with you. Like, some guys are going to be really mature. Coach, it's not bothering me at all. I promise you. Yeah. Some guys you can sort of tell are sandbagging. But again, if he's only playing 10 minutes a game, I would think that he'd be able to go the second night. Now you'd have a real conversation. You happen to win game 2 and you're going to the finals. That would probably be a little bit more analytical with making sure that you were putting him in a good position for the championship and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a perfect. Yeah. I think that's a. Go ahead, Mac. Finish your point.
No, that's going to be a consideration for sure.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
All right, I think that's a perfect time to go to Toast. Nobody wants to hear about UConn and Rob talk about them. So,
all right,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Rob. Go ahead.
Well, look, UConn has a win over Alabama, a win over Iowa State, win over Oklahoma State on a neutral. They beat Creighton at home. They beat Marquette at home. If they win at Creighton and then they win the Big East tournament, I think a 2 seed is probably within reach. I think it would more likely be a 3 seed. But there's a reason why their metrics are still so ridiculously high right now, because they have all of these good wins already stockpiled. So I think it could be a 2.
Perfect. All right, I'll give us one more, and then we can get to Toast of the Night. Also, chat, 300 people watching, only 62 likes. That's very, very weak. Hit the like button. For
smash that like button.
Smash the like button.
Smash that like button.
It's not that hard. It takes a second. Who is going to win the ACC regular season title? Because we love talking about the ACC.
Virginia. We said that. A lot of us said that in the preseason. I think Mac and I both, didn't we?
Yeah, I always want to say Virginia.
Me too. Tony Bennett has owned the regular season for basically the last decade. When Kay's been in it, Roy's been in it, Boeheim's been in it. So, you know what? Last I checked, only one of those guys is left. So he's going to own it going forward.
All right. That's it for me. Toast of the night.
Go ahead, Goodman. Toast of the night.
Toast of the night. To the thinnest skinned head coach in the country, the guy who blocks everybody on Twitter.
Oh my God.
None other than Jerry Stackhouse. And I do mean it. Honestly, it's a hell of a win. You beat Tennessee coming in. I know I've said I don't think Tennessee's the top 5 team. That's still a hell of a win and a hell of a play drawn up at the end by Jerry Stackhouse for the win.
Well,
Stack,
cheers to that.
Unblock me, Stack, please.
Matt, go ahead.
I'm trying to remember, man. Did Duquesne, they won tonight, or was that last night?
No, they won tonight.
But Keith Dambrot, what did he get, his 500th win?
Mm-hmm.
He did.
And never played him head-to-head, but we did a couple scrimmages. And I was always amazed that in October, he could already have 572 plays in his play card when the rest of us in October would have about 4 or 5 that we couldn't even run correctly. So that play card has served him well. So congrats, Coach Dambrot, 500th win.
All right. My toast of the night is going to go out to whoever is in charge of building the court for the University of Maine. Maine had a huge game tonight against Vermont, and they had to take apart the court and rebuild it, delay the game for like, what was it, 90 minutes, Goodman? Because when Vermont walked out on the floor to go warm up, the baseline wasn't straight. The letters weren't making sense. The foul line wasn't straight. It was it didn't work out well. So there's all these.
And John
funny
Becker
pictures.
went. Hey, he went during the day for shoot around, and it was kind of screwed up. And he just assumed it would be better by the time the game started, and it wasn't.
No. So my toast of the night is going to go out to whoever was in charge of doing that the first time, because like either you got yelled at or you may be looking for a new job. So you probably were going to want to drink with us. So cheers to you.
There you go.
Listen, this has been the Wednesday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. We'll be back again tomorrow night, 11 p.m. Eastern time on Sirius, live streaming on YouTube. Goodman is still holding up that fake Eagles jersey. I don't
Goodman,
think
please stop. We don't need this. Please
Robert
stop.
Montgomery.
Nope, nobody can see that.
Now
Nobody
all
can
we
see
see
that.
is your
That's not that.
ass.
Was it?
Now all we see is your ass.
You look like an
Oh, my
offensive
God.
lineman.
We'll be back tomorrow.
Hell, I
We'll be
was
back
eating a
tomorrow.
lot.
11